Doing the chapter An Empire Across Three Continents, and today topic is late antiquity. Antiquity is the period of history before the Middle Age. So we shall conclude this chapter by looking at the cultural transformation. Here the cultural transformations, you can see that as far as the culture is concerned, it is more diversified in Rome, but now there is a transformation from diversified culture to a particular religion for the empire. As Constantine, he decided that the Christianity would be the official language or religion, and then we saw the rise of Islam in the 7th century. Late antiquity is the term now used to describe the final fascinating period in the evolution. Evolution, we saw the rise, the origin, the development, and then the declination of the Roman Empire. We are seeing the declination of the Roman Empire, and the final stage when we talk the breakup of the Roman Empire, there you will see a considerable changes or fascinating period in this time. Okay, so especially the time period between 4th century to 7th centuries. So the 4th century itself was one of the considerable ferment. Here the period of excitement and anxiety, especially in the cultural and if we talk about an economy. Okay, so here you can see at the cultural level, the period saw momentous developments in religious life. So momentous development is now very important and significant development as for the ruler. If we talk about the Emperor Constantine deciding to make Christianity the official religion and the rise of Islam in the 7th century. So here you can see that this considerable change of transformation, but there were equally important changes in the structure of the state. So if we talk about the polity, the cultural, the social, you will find these changes in the social and economic changes in the final periods of the Roman Empire. And these changes will start. It begins with the Emperor Diocletian, okay, in the year 284 to 305. So if we talk about the changes, there was considerable changes. So we will start with the Emperor Diocletian, and it may be best to start with these. So here comes over expansions has led Diocletian to cut back by abandoned territories with little strategic or economic value. So first if we talk about the over expansions, so you can see the empire was very vast, and what the Diocletian did, that he the portion which is less economically important or strategic as far as the defensive point of view, he left or abandoned those regions. So Diocletian, he also fortified the frontier or fortified the border of the empire, reorganized provincial boundaries and demarcated the provincial boundaries, and separated the civilian works from military functions, granting greater autonomy to the military commanders. Here you can see the self-government to the military commanders. Now they became more powerful group. Then Constantine, the next rulers, you can see he consolidated some of these changes. So he strengthened these changes, whatever changes has been done by Diocletian, okay, he continued that and he modified or introduced some more new rules. Okay, if we talk about his chief innovations, here Constantine chief innovation were in the monetary sphere. Monetary sphere here is related with money, okay, where you can see the changes were in, he introduced a new denominations, the solidus, okay. So here if we talk about the currency, he introduced a new currency which is having its official value, and the weight of the currency, if we talk about, it's 4.5 gram of pure minted, 4.5 gram of gold, okay, that would in fact outlast the Roman Empire itself. So the coin was made up of how much? 4.5 grams of pure gold, and it would last after the decline of the Roman Empire. So you can see solidi were minted on a very large scale. So it was produced on a very large scale, and then if you talk about the circulation, it ran into millions. So you can see lakhs and crores were in circulation as far as the currency is concerned. And the other area of innovation he did was the creation of a second capital in the place Constantinople, okay, which is at the modern Istanbul in Turkey, and which was previously called Byzantium, okay, surrounded on three sides by sea. So here you can see in the map also, this is Constantinople, which was earlier called Byzantium, okay, Byzantium, and here is the location where it is located. So he made this his second capital at modern Istanbul in Turkey. So it is surrounded three sides by sea. So this was the new capital, and it required a senate. So you can see the 4th century was a period of rapidly expansion of the governing classes. So here comes the monetary stability. As you can see, introduction of a coin called solidus, okay, and this expanding populations. They stimulate the economic growth, and the archaeological records show considerable investment in rural establishment. So you can see capital investment in rural estate, especially the establishment including industrial installations. If we talk about the establishment of industry like oil presses, glass factories, in newer technology you can see screw presses and multiple water mill. And in a revival of a long distance trade with the east. So investment here, investment to the trade with the countries to the east, okay. So revival of trade. So all these factor we read here, okay, these factors carried over into strong urban prosperities that was marked by new forms of architecture and an exaggerated sense of luxury. So now they have more money to spend lavishly and invest money in infrastructure and architecture, okay. So here you can see in Egypt, when we talk about this, the ruling elite were wealthier and more powerful than ever before. So in Egypt you can see hundreds of papyri sheets, okay, that survive today from these later centuries. They show us relatively affluent society. Affluent society here is the wealthiest society, okay, where money was in extensive use. On a large scale, money was used in a large scale, and rural estate generated vast taxes of over 2.5 million solidi a year. So here you can see that if we talk the rural estate, they start earning profits. We saw the installation of industry in the rural estates and the trade with the east. These rural states, they start earning profits, okay. As far as we can saw an example here, that Egypt contribute taxes of 25 lakh solidi a year, roughly 35,000 pounds of gold in the east, in the reign of Justinian in the 6th century. So the prosperity here indicate that how much tax they paid. So is this clear? So indeed, larger parts of the near eastern countrysides, when we talk about eastern countryside east of Mediterranean, it was more developed and densely settled in the 5th and the 6th century, okay. And then you can see they would be even in the 20th century. As we compared it with the 20th century, the 5th and 6th century were more well settled and well developed than the period of 20th century. So this is the social background against which we should set the cultural development of this period. So here you saw the social structures, okay, or the background that was built. So in this background we will see the cultural development of this period. So the traditional religious culture of the classical world, period before medieval or middle age, you can see this Greek and Roman had been polytheist. Polytheist means they believe in the existence of many gods, as they were involved in a multiplicity of cults that included both Roman and Italian gods. So here you can see they believed in different religion sects and different method of worships. So if we talk about, you can see the god here like Jupiter, Juno, Minerva and Mars. And you can see numerous as well as numerous Greek and Eastern deities worshipped in thousands of temples, shrines and sanctuaries throughout the empire. So this they followed or worshipped Roman Italian god as well as numerous Greek and Eastern deities. Okay, in thousands of temples, shrines and sanctuaries, okay, throughout the empire. So polytheists, okay, had no common name or label to describe themselves. It means that they don't want to recognize themselves by a name. Okay, so here you can see the other greater religious traditions in the empire was the Judaism. Okay, Judaism were the people, the religions of the Jewish people, okay, based on the belief in one God. So you can see, but Judaism was not a monolith either. So when we talk the monolith, it's literally, okay, a large block of stone is there, but when we talk, the expression is used here to refer anything, for example a society or culture that lacks variety and is all of the same type. So if we talk about this monolith here, the Jewish was not a monolith either. It means that there was a great deal of diversity within the Jewish community of late antiquity. So here you can see thus the Christianizations of the empire in the 4th and the 5th century was a gradual and complex process. So you can see cultural diversities, and it was not easy for different community to accept these religious changes. So it was a slow process and a complex process. Okay. So here you can see polytheisms did not disappear overnight. If we talk about the existence of different gods, okay, it was not disappear overnight, especially in the western province, where the Christian bishops waged a running battle against belief and practices. Okay, so here you can see we are talking about the religious culture of this classical world. Here is the world of, we are talking about religious cultures of the Roman Empire. Okay, as they worshipped, first if we saw the god, the Roman Italian gods like Jupiter, Juno, Minerva and cults. Okay, cults, you can see that and they believe in a different religion sects, and it means different method of worship and devotions. Okay, so now we talk about the polytheist. Okay, had no common name in the label to describe themselves. So here you can see the other religious traditions here comes were the Judaism. It was also not monolith. There was, you can see, great deal of diversity with the Jewish community of late antiquity. Then comes the Christianization of the empire that we read, that it was made the religious, it was made the official religion. Okay, Christianity. So here, if we talk about, to accept this Christianity was not an easy process. It was a complex process. So polytheism, polytheism did not disappear overnight. Believing or worshipping of God, it does not disappear overnight, especially in the western provinces, where you can find a huge diversifications. Okay, so here the Christian bishops, they waged a running battle, or they opposed this belief and practices whatever prevails in the society. Okay, and they condemned this Jewish more than the Christian laity did. It means the population. It means that they condemned more. If we talk about more, what to condemn here is the belief and practices done by this other religious sect, okay, than the population did. So the boundaries between religious communities were much more fluid in the 4th century, And when we talk about the 4th century, the religious boundaries, okay, between this community were not so rigid, but they would become thanks to the repeated efforts, okay, of religious leaders. So the powerful bishop who now led the church, okay, to reign in their followers, or to force their follower, the disciples, to form or to practice. तो आप देखते हैं 4वीं शताब्दी में धर्मों के बीच, विभिन्न समुदाय के बीच वो समन्वय था, वो ज़्यादा कठोर नहीं था, ठीक है ना। लेकिन इसके लिए हमें इसके लिए किसको श्रेय दिया जाता है? ये क्रिश्चियंस रिलीजियस लीडर्स को, ठीक है। उन्होंने क्या करा? उन्होंने इसकी निंदा, जो भी रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिसेस हैं या जूइश प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, बिलीफ हैं, उनकी कड़ी निंदा की, आलोचना की, और वो अपने जो फॉलोवर्स थे उनको एनफोर्स करते थे कि वो क्या करें, वो कठोरता से क्रिश्चियन धर्म का पालन करे, क्रिश्चियन धर्म और उसका विश्वास का पालन करे। तो उसे और कड़ा बनाने का प्रयत्न किया गया। सो द जनरल प्रॉस्पेरिटी, okay, was specially marked in the east, where population was still expanding till the 6th century. So now come the 6th century, okay, where you can see the east, especially the east of Mediterranean, they were much more prosperous, okay, and the population was expanding or increase in the population. Then later you can see, despite the impact of the plague which affected the Mediterranean in the 540. So you can see that the plague that spread over the Mediterranean, and it affected the life of the people of Mediterranean. It had a great impact. So, and in the west also, you can see by north, okay, north Goths, Vandals and Lombards took over all the major provinces. So when we talk about the Roman Empire, in the east you can see the plague spread over the Mediterranean, and when we talk about the west of the Roman Empire, you can find in the north there was an invasion of the Germanic group, okay, which were the Goths, Vandals and Lombards, that we discussed earlier also. So it was not the first, they invaded again and again in this region, okay. So here you can see, and this time they took over the major provinces and established kingdom that are the best described as post-Roman. So here you can see now, this time they occupied a major provinces and they established their own kingdom, which will be described as post-Roman, that now the Roman Empire, no more territories of the Roman Empire. So the most important of these were that of the Visigoths in Spain, destroyed by the Arab between 711 and 720, that of Franks in Gaul, and that of Lombards in Italy. Okay, these kingdom foreshadows, if we talk about Franks in Gaul and Lombards, okay, in Italy, it foreshadowed the beginning of a different kind of world that is usually called medieval. So these two reasons somewhere they are indicating, okay, indicating or often of the beginning of a new period that we call the Middle Age or medieval in the East. And then in the East, when we talk about the empire remained united, the reign of Justinian is the high water mark of prosperity. So here what we saw the political disintegration in the West, okay, that how this Germanic groups, they invaded a place and occupied the region, and how this Arab invasion, they destroyed the whole region of Visigoths in Spain. And then we talk about there was a transition phase from an ancient to the Middle Age, and then you can say this was a sign or indication of a beginning of a new period, okay, so new ages. So here you can see that, but when we talk about the East, where the plague was spread, it was unified, okay, and when we say the empire remained united, the reign of Justinian is the high water mark of prosperity. और जब हम जस्टिनियन के शासन की बात करते हैं तो वो कैसा था, उसके समय काल समृद्ध था, and there was a imperial ambitions. We saw the ambitions of the ruler. So Justinian, he recaptured Africa from the Vandals, but his recovery of Italy left that country devastated and paved the way for the Lombard invasions. So by the early 7th century, the war between Rome and Iran had flared up again. It was flamed. दोनों के बीच दोबारा से युद्ध छिड़ गई. And the Sasanian, okay, who had ruled Iran since the 3rd century. So here there comes Sasanian who ruled Iran. Okay, he launched a wholesale invasions of all the major eastern provinces. If we talk about that, he made invasion in the eastern provinces of the Roman Empire, including Egypt. So when Byzantium as the Roman Empire will now increasingly known. Now if we talk about Byzantium is the capital. Okay, here we saw that Constantinople was the capital which was earlier known as Byzantium. Now Roman Empire was recognized or was called by Byzantium. Okay, so they recovered these provinces in 620. It was just a few years away, that literally from the final major blow which came this time from the southeast. तो जो बाइजेंटियम है, जिसको हम रोम साम्राज्य को बाइजेंटियम के नाम से जाने लगा, हम देखते हैं उन्होंने अपने क्षेत्र को पुनः दे रिकवर्ड और ऑक्यूपाइड दिस प्रोविंसेस. लेकिन आप देखते हैं उनको दक्षिण पूर्व ने पूरी तरह से साम्राज्य को हिलाकर रख दिया. तो हियर यू कैन सी द एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इस्लाम from its beginning in Arabia has been called the greatest political revolutions ever to occur in the history of the ancient world. तो यहाँ से हम देखते हैं इस्लाम का उदय और जो विस्तार है वो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण राजनीतिक घटना है, पूरे विश्व की महत्वपूर्ण राजनीतिक क्रांति या घटना के रूप में जाना जाता है. ठीक है, here you can see by 642, barely 10 years after the Prophet Muhammad's death, large part of both the Eastern Roman, here we are talking about, and the Sasanian Empire had fallen to the Arab in a series of stunning confrontation. तो आप देखते हैं युद्ध में क्या होता है कि जो पूर्वी आप देखते हैं ये वाला क्षेत्र है विच वी कॉल ईस्टर्न रोमन एम्पायर. ओके, और जो अरब का क्षेत्र है वो क्या आ गया है, वो अरेबिया के कब्जे में आ गया है क्योंकि इनके बीच में भीषण युद्ध हुआ था लड़ाई के बाद. However, we should bear in mind that those conquests which eventually extended as far afield as Spain, ठीक है, Sindh or Central Asia began in fact with the subjection of the Arab tribe by the emerging Islamic state. Okay, first within the Arab and then in the Syria desert and fringes of Iraq. आप देखते हैं कि साम्राज्य का विस्तार कहाँ तक कर रहे हैं, स्पेन तक कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, सिंध और मध्य एशिया तक कर रहे हैं. तो इसकी शुरुआत यहीं से हुई, उन्हीं के राज्य के बीच में जहाँ उन्होंने अपने ही ट्राइब्स को हराया और तब वो आगे सीरिया के डेजर्ट तक पहुँचे एंड देन यू कैन सी एंड द बॉर्डर ऑफ इराक. सो हियर इन द नेक्स्ट चैप्टर we will see the unifications of the Arabian Peninsula and its numerous tribes was the key factor behind the territorial expansion of Islam. So in the next chapter we will see the unification of the numerous tribes, okay, was the key factor behind the territorial expansions of the Islam.